There are all sorts of different kinds of games out there, and I have been attempting to broaden my video horizons beyond just RPGs. While my heart will always remain with RPG series like Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts, and Persona, I also did really want to start talking about some other kinds of games that I enjoy. Indie month is upon us, so there will be plenty of videos covering some indie games, but I also really wanted to cover some farming sims. My mind first went to Rune Factory, which is a spin-off series based off of Harvest Moon, because those games were my shit as a youngin'. But while those videos are certainly in the works, I decided to go to a game I've never actually beaten before, Harvest Moon Magical Melody. So let's get to talking about it. You, as a fresh-faced rancher, move to Flowerbud Village because they have a campaign called The Exciting Ranch Plan. How awesome. In my opinion, this ranch plan was just a way to boost population and find a major supplier for every store that exists in this town, because you will come to learn that entire businesses rely on you to run. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Upon coming to Flowerbud Village, we meet Mayor Theodore and are given the option to move into the beachside, riverside, or town center properties to start our stint as an amazing ranch owner. I named my ranch Goosington, of course. It was going to be Goosingtown, but I didn't have enough room for the W, but it really is the only name fitting for the ranch of a silly goose such as I. Now guys, right from the start you gotta be a little strategic, and I'll tell you why in a couple minutes. Just for right now, trust me when I say the seaside or the beachside residence is the best place to start. Anyways, upon moving in, we are gifted with a dog. I named mine Blade, obviously, and then shortly after we are accosted by the harvest sprites. We can see them, which is apparently not super normal, and they tell us about the horrible, tragic fate of the harvest goddess, who turned to stone because people forgot how to appreciate and kind thoughts and her, so she said goodbye and turned to stone. Jeez, dramatic much? So the harvest sprites set us to work trying to save her. And how do we do that, you ask? By collecting music notes. Now, Jamie, one of the other ranchers and the only other person in town who can see the harvest sprites, does not like the fact that we're trying to help out. In fact, she makes it her personal mission to collect more notes than us at any cost because we suck and she will be the one to save the harvest goddess. Now, let's get to talking about these notes. Some of them are very easy to get, just while existing. Some of them are as simple as having you save in your diary, or pulling weeds, or watering plants, or even just staying still for a long time. No, literally, that is actually one of the notes. You have to just not play the game for a certain amount of time, and you get a note. On the other hand, some of the notes can be very, very silly. Like sometimes I'll be standing in my house after a long, hard day just whistling a stupid amount of times just for one measly note. Or drinking 10 sodas in one night and giving myself an upset tummy for a lucky. Now, there are a few notes surrounding money. Actually quite a few, because you have to build a barn and a chicken coop to raise animals and a few different things such as a bigger house and certain furniture to get married. And all these constructs is the reason why I encourage the beachside farm choice. The downside to this farm is the fact that the soil is really, really bad. That means that any crops you grow in the soil will be of poor quality and won't sell for as much money. The loophole around this, though, is that you're able to grow crops on any public property in town. But what can't you do on those lands? You guessed it, build buildings. In my opinion, raising animals is the most rewarding way of making money. It takes a bit to start up, but once it does, it's very lucrative. The only time it can be slightly annoying is if you're a silly billy like me and you do things like feed your chickens mayo. All the time. My mayo feeding habit got so bad that every time my boyfriend was on the phone with me while I was playing, he would ask me, "Did you feed your chickens mayo again?" anytime I made any negative sounding noise. And 6 out of 10 times he was correct, and that was what had happened. Lunas, get away from the shipping box while I'm selling mayo. God. Another annoying thing is that value of dyed yarn doesn't go up, so when I dyed a shiny yarn into a red yarn, it was actually worth half the value of the original product. It truly is rough out in these streets. Anyways, growing crops is a valid option, but your energy bar in Magical Melody is quite small, especially at the start. So you have to be strategic about how many actions you take in the day, otherwise... So yeah, I like to raise animals. These babies here are my pride and joy. Bonus points to anyone who can guess what all of their names are a reference to. A couple of other things you can do around town are forage for local products like herbs, spices, and flowers, or mine in the local Moonlight Cave. Mining is one of my favorite activities in the game. The cave has 100 floors, and if you can get down to the bottom of it, and the blacksmith lives in your town, don't make the mistake of doing it without the blacksmith like I did because you get nothing and it's a waste of time. You get a power berry, which extends your energy bar. There is also a second cave that you can only access in the winter called the Underground Lake Cave. And the music here is so sick. It reminds me of Sonic the Hedgehog, like the Mystic Cave Zone specifically, and I love it. However, it is much more difficult to get to the bottom of this cave, I will say, unfortunately. However, the stuff you can find in this cave is worth a lot more, so winter is the best time to absolutely grind that shmonies. Foraging in the town is exactly what it sounds like, just running around the mountains looking for stuff. It's pretty convenient for gifts for the townspeople because almost all of them like something you can forage. Now, you may have noticed that this video is about 6 or 7 minutes long, and the only townspeople I have talked about are Mayor Theodore and Jamie, and that, my dear friends, is because unfortunately, the townspeople are the weakest part of this game. They are all very bland husks of people that don't have much to say. And while the dialogue all being bland does kind of suck, it's also bland and repetitive. The townspeople say the same thing no matter their heart level if you talk to them in certain locations, such as the mine, for example. They only change their dialogue based on heart points, and even so, not by much. And they have a unique dialogue for rain or typhoon weather, which gets boring after the third time it's rained. In Rune Factory, I always loved the townspeople and went out of my way to talk to them, but in this game, I found it more of a chore to talk to them. I made a conscious effort for the first couple months to get all the different townspeople moved in, such as Sebera, the old potter, Ronald, the brash orchard owner, and Carl and Katie, the cafe owners. But once I had them all moved in, talking to them became such a chore. It was just so ugh. Really, the only significant moment each town person gets is an event at Two Hearts, and even those are very generic. They come to your door in the morning and spout off some speech about the thing they made, then they give it to you and they leave. Usually they think they gift you with something they like or love, so I usually end up just re-gifting it to them anyway. And the worst part is, quite a number of townspeople have requirements for staying moved into the town, some of which are pretty hard to meet in the winter, such as shipping a certain amount of fruit to keep Ronald and Dan in town. And if you guys don't do these things, they move out. And guys, sometimes it took forever to get them to move back in. Now, as I mentioned, Jamie is essentially your self-appointed rival, and a lot of the game's mechanics revolve around that idea. The main one is that every day is a competition of sorts to sell more than Jamie, and people, I shit you not, I was trying my absolute hardest in the winter. I was selling thousands upon thousands of dollars in diamonds all winter, and not once did I even come close to beating Jamie. But then, one random day in spring, I did it. I won. And I never cared about the rivalry again because I only had to beat her once to feel good about myself. But that didn't matter because I still beat her a bunch more times. The only other real contribution the villagers have to society are the festivals. There are several throughout the year, some celebrating the harvest and other yields, some celebrating different holidays like Thanksgiving and New Year's Eve and Day, and some being competitions, which were definitely my favorite ones. The swimming minigame and the horse race get my heart racing. Mama raised a champion! Vanitas! But no matter. I've spent a year farming, fishing, and ranching to collect 50 notes. I turned them in all at once like a fool and had to watch 10 minutes of 5 notes turning into a musical instrument. But once all 50 were submitted, the harvest goddess unstoned herself and the credits rolled. Now friends, I could have stopped here. I could have said, no, the credits have rolled, so I am done. But friends, when I looked at my screen and it said that I had 50 out of 100 notes and that's not 100 out of 100 notes, I knew I had more work to do. And this, friends, is when the game gets a lot less enjoyable. Chances are by the time you've hit 50 notes, you're in the same camp as me, where you have gotten all the easy ones and only the grindy ones remain. And so the game becomes quite the slog. Because the townspeople were very bland, half the notes I had left to grab were related to getting certain townspeople up to a specific amount of hearts, and there were 5 notes related to getting married, and I missed a couple festival notes, and the grind continued. I fished, and some of those fish, like the squid prince and the hutchin, were a pain in my booty. I truffle hunted, and guys, I kid you not, I had to watch a 10-year-old video tutorial on how to get truffles because my pig was defective. Apparently the pig just doesn't work, and there's a different method that involves making a square around the tree with your hoe, but not like the inside part of the tree, and then waiting for the places to like unhoe themselves, and then that means there was a truffle. It was terrible. I had some wild animal come up to my door at 6 a.m. randomly, got a note for that, and then finally, I got married. I was given the option to get the engagement item on my in-game birthday, and guys, I shit you not, on my birthday, I gave more gifts than I received, which was easy because I received none. A couple of the villagers gave me some sympathy comments like, "Oh, I hope someone gives you a gift," and "Oh, I would have made a cake for you, but I didn't." But hey, at least I got engaged. I decided to marry Katie because she was the first person I got up to 8 heart points, the minimum amount needed to get married. That wasn't Ellen. Sorry, Ellen. I like you, it's just you're boring. I initially was super afraid to get married because I didn't want to miss out on all the girls' 5 heart scenes, but then I shit you not, the day after my wedding, Maria knocked on my door and I got hers. So I guess the women in this town don't have any issues with flirting with a married man. You go, girls. 20 days after I got married, I had the most eventful morning. I woke up, talked to my wife. She expressed to me that she better not catch me cheating on her. Okay, Katie, like, geez, chill. And then I left my house and I got another girl's 5 heart scene. It was Gwen. So now another woman has flirted with me after I just reassured my wife that I would never cheat. And then I shit you not, guys, I find out she's pregnant right after that. At first I thought one of my animals died because the music was super somber, but nope. Turns out my wife collapsed, but like not because she was sick, just because she was pregnant. Okay. And like, honestly, the rest of the marriage and childbearing related notes were just a waiting game. But dude, let me just circle back to the fishing notes real quick. There are 3. The Master Angler note, the Expert Angler note, and the Rubber Boots note. The Master Angler note was achieved by catching 100 fish. So that was whatever. And the Rubber Boots note was achieved by catching 10 pieces of garbage, which I did while I was doing the Expert Angler note. Guys, the Expert Angler note was achieved by catching every single type of fish, and I could not catch a fucking shrimp for the life of me. I caught thousands of sardines, hundreds of mackerels, tens of saris and half-beaks and lamp squids and schnappers and schnadoors, but there was not a shrimp to be seen. I finally caught one on winter 11 of year 2, and only the thinnest sliver of my sanity remained. By this point, I had only 6 notes left to collect. I could taste the ending. Then, I got to the point where I was just waiting for my baby to be born. Guys, I played through 2 months. I got the max level house, I had 3 out of 6 goddess tools, I got to the day my baby was supposed to be born, and the game crashed 4 times. I could not get it to work. Then I came back from school, tried it twice, same thing. Tried it a 3rd time with a tear-covered face, and it randomly worked. I literally didn't even want to try to record it just in case I broke it and it never worked again. But yes, I got the baby note. I named him Denzel, if you know you know, because the gender was never specified, but I will put a picture of him and his namesake because you don't get to see the scene where he was born for reasons I mentioned above. This is also him out in the wild. But guys, I shit you not, every single time the game would go dark screen during the scene, I would like crap a little because I was like, oh my god, what if it crashes or stops working and I just like can't get this note and like I wasted all this time. But yeah, I got through it and I saved like ASAP, and then I didn't have to worry about an incident like that again for at least 2 months. Yippee! Anyways, I ended up doing it. I got all 100 notes. My baby learned to walk, and that was 99, and then Jamie gave me 100. And then I turned off my Wii, and honestly, after shipping almost every item in the game and playing a full 3 years, and sinking probably close to 100 hours into it, like, guys, the game is fun for the first year, but becomes such an unpleasant grind once you pass the 60 note mark. So yeah, in conclusion, Harvest Moon Magical Melodies is done and dusted, and boy oh boy has it ever been a journey.